Hello, everyone out there on Starlight TV and Facebook Live. It is Captain Starlight here, and I am very, very excited because today we are chatting to a very dear friend of Captain Starlight. It is the one, the only Dr. Karl. Hello, Dr. Karl, and good morning.
Good morning, ahoy, and look, hello, kids, and everybody else and all other humanoids on this planet.
Yes, I am very excited for this morning because we've done this before, Dr. Karl, if that's correct. We've been asking questions and you've been giving us answers from kids all around Australia. Now, one thing I've learned from my time on Earth is that kids have lots of questions and they are very intelligent beings. And we've got some cracker questions today. So, kids out there on Facebook or in the Starlight Room, make sure you pop those questions into the Facebook chat. Or if you are in the Starlight Express room, go find Captain Starlight and we'll get those questions to Dr. Karl as soon as we can. Now, it's leading up to Christmas, Dr. Karl.
It is indeed. Oh, look, by the way, you mentioned the kids are really intelligent. It's called the Flynn effect, F-L-Y-N-N effect. And yes, kids, you are 9 IQ points smarter than your parents. It's been happening since 1932 when we first started doing the measurements. We don't know why. We know it's real. You are smarter. You don't know as much yet. But then in a little while, you'll know more and you'll be smarter as well. Hooray!
No way, Dr. Karl, that is so amazing to learn. I've always known that kids are smarter. Now I know I can say it's the Flynn effect, and I'm very grateful for that. Now we are leading up to Christmas, so we've got lots of Christmas questions coming through, and I am very, very excited for those Christian questions. But to get us started, I was going to ask our first Christmas question already. Are you ready, Dr. Karl?
I was born ready.
I love it. This is from Olivia from Facebook. And Olivia has asked, how does Santa eat so many cookies?
Where do these cookies come from? Are they left out by Santa's little helpers' parents and the like in houses around the world? Are those the cookies that you're referring to?
They would definitely be the cookies that are being referred to.
Well, Santa is in a special place, a sort of a quantum place, where, and this is real, by the way, in your phone, there's a thing called a semiconductor. And that means that sometimes it conducts and sometimes it doesn't. And it's the same material. In the same way, Santa can be here and there at the same time. And he can both eat a cookie and enjoy it and not eat a cookie at the same time. So over the course of an evening, he could eat several thousand tons of cookies, but at the same time eat no cookies, and both are real.
Oh my goodness. Santa truly is magical, isn't he? That is so cool. I wish I had that special ability as well. Now, I do have a hello. Sophie is already on the chat and is wanting to say hi to you, Dr. Karl. So hello, Sophie. Good morning. Thank you for tuning in. We're very excited to hear. Oh, we've got a Christmas. Dr. Karl, what's your favorite thing about Christmas? And that's from Sophie.
Well, family and friends are just what makes life worthwhile. And therefore, holidays are good. And if a few holidays are good, then more are better. And Christmas is an extra holiday, so that's my favourite thing about Christmas. It's a chance where you have to switch off and have fun. Except when I was working in America, doing some research there, all we had on Christmas Day was just the morning off, and then we turned up in the afternoon. They were weird. They don't. You see, we're lucky in Australia. We have 3-4 weeks holidays a year. In America, you get 2 weeks only, and sometimes not even that. So enjoy holidays, and Christmas is a really good holiday.
I agree. I agree. Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year, as the song famously says. Now, Dr. Karl, I am very excited because we're going to be doing a science experiment later. And I believe it involves some magnets. Now, I have got my magnets ready for this sciencey fun. So kids out there around Australia, make sure you run to your fridge and find the biggest magnets you can find. Is that correct, Dr. Karl?
Get fridge magnets and try and get 2 that are the same size. It's better, best of all, if they're advertising the same thing, so they're pretty identical, but even just 2 that are the same size, and we'll do a special little experiment with them in a little while.
Oh, I am very excited for this special little experiment. I love magnets, so this is going to be fun. So keep your questions coming through the Facebook Live chat. Thank you so much, Sophie. Already kicking us off. It's going to be a very fun morning. I'm excited, Dr. Karl. Are you excited?
I love talking. I love talking about science. It always makes me happy.
Of course you do, because I believe you also write lots of books, Dr. Karl, and you're currently celebrating, I want to make sure I get this right, Dr. Karl's Surfing Safari Through Science. Is that right?
That's it. That's this one here behind me, book number 46. But best of all, in addition, well, not best of all, it's got holograms, little pop-up holograms. So you download the Dr. Karl app. Just go to your app store. It's called Dr. Karl. It's a little yellow thing with a light bulb. Download that, put it on your phone, aim your phone camera at the book. Say, look at the story about how dead fish can swim. And sure, the story tells you that fish that are dead can keep on swimming after they're dead, even upstream against the current, and so can whales. And then you aim your camera at the cover page, and then suddenly up pops a little movie of me, a little hologram saying, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, my only help against the evil empire." Oh no, that's Star Wars. But then there's a hologram of me that pops up, and then if you press one of the buttons underneath my feet, you will see a video of a fish that is dead, still swimming.
That is absolutely amazing. What a cool book. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to give it a try. So right now we have had Captain Starlight doing lots of experiments around the country, reading your book and asking questions. And we're going to cross live to the Starlight Express Lab and watch a little video, I believe.
Thanks, Captain Starlight and Dr. Karl. Oh my goodness, I am coming to you live from the Starlight Express Lab with Dr. Karl's newest book, Dr. Karl's Surf and Safari Through Science. This book is just full of amazing science facts, and it even has holograms. All you need to do is download the Dr. Karl app and use it while you're reading the book. Check this out.
There's a creature that can fly for 1,000 kilometres, and at altitudes up to half the height of Everest. It's not a bird, it's not an insect, it's a spider.
That takes us to our first fact. Nearly 2 centuries ago, Charles Darwin was partway through his famous voyage around the world. The ship was about 100 kilometres off the coast, a long distance from the side of land. Their ship was suddenly inundated by vast numbers of red spiders. These red spiders literally dropped out of the sky? That sounds so freaky, like Minecraft in survival mode. Wait a minute. Dr. Karl, if spiders can fly, does that mean reindeers can too? Back to you.
Flying spiders? Oh my goodness. Dr. Karl, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so you know that the Earth has a magnetic field, like you get a compass and it points to north and south.
Yeah.
Well, besides having a magnetic field, the Earth also has an electric field. And it increases by about 120 volts for each meter you go above the ground. And spiders can adjust their elevation above ground level by using this electric field. How do they do that? Well, out of their back end, they've got things called spinnerets, which make threads of spiderweb, and they spread out, and they spread out because they're all charged one way, like charges repel. And then the Earth's electric field interacts with that, and then depending on how much they've got sprayed out, a little bit or a long length or a short length of thread, they'll rise higher or lower. If they've got a lot of thread, they go high. If they've got a little bit of thread, they go a little bit high. And then they just catch the wind. They wait for the wind to come. And why do they do this? Well, the trouble is that when spiders are born, there's not just mummy and daddy and one spider. There's thousands of them. And sometimes they kind of eat each other. Okay, they're cannibals. And so one of the spiders, smarter than the rest, says, "I'm getting out of here," and then squirts out a bit of thread and then lifts up and then flies away for up to 1,000 kilometres at elevations up to 4 kilometres high. And sometimes you'll go out into a field in the morning and you'll see all these gossamer threads. And that's where a whole bunch of spiders have landed after a flight. Maybe a kilometre, maybe 10, maybe 100, and maybe even 1,000.
That is absolutely amazing, Dr. Karl. I can't believe that. I never knew that. And the world is such an amazing place, isn't it? Oh, wow. That is magical information to know. I'm so grateful. But we've got more questions coming through, Dr. Karl. We can't dwell on it too much because everyone's got so many Christmas questions. Very excited. And the next one is from Nicole. Nicole from Facebook wants to know, how does Santa fit down chimneys when he's a little overweight from those metaphysical cookies?
Okay, so remember the thing about the quantum. So in real life, in the real world, I lift up a cup and then I put it down. And it will not move unless I push it. But in quantum land, things can happen without a reason. Something can come from nothing. And so in the same way, you can be here and there at the same time. A very clever physicist, John Wheeler, said that there are grounds for thinking that there's possibly only one electron in the entire universe and it's everywhere at the same time. In the same way, Santa is both skinny and fat at the same time, or slim and large at the same time.
Wow, the quantum world is just a whole nother thing to learn about, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Thank you for that question, Nicole. We've got more Christmas questions. We've got 2 more Christmas questions. I'm loving the Christmas questions. I don't know about you, Dr. Karl. The next one is from Noah from Facebook, and he asks, does the Polar Express Christmas movie, is that based on a real train?
Captain Starlight and Dr. Noah, I haven't actually seen that movie. I believe it stars Tom Hanks. Is that right?
It does indeed. It's a fantastic film about traveling on the Polar Express to the North Pole.
Going quantum, I'd say in some alternate universe, it definitely exists.
I love it. I love that very much. Thank you, Noah. And Max from Facebook asks, how fast does Santa have to travel to get around all the world in one night?
Well, people have done the numbers, worked out how many kids there are, and all kids are good, that need presents delivered to them. And to sum it up, he needs to travel at about 1,000 kilometres per second. Now think about that. Our fastest passenger planes do just under 1,000 kilometres per hour. And the fastest we've ever been able to push a rocket is maybe 20 kilometres a second. 20 a second. And here we're talking, and that's in space. Here we're talking 1,000 kilometres a second, and we've never pushed anything that fast. Santa has to do 1,000 kilometres a second and has to make 1,000 visits each second. So in 1 second, he has to do 1,000 visits, and in between each house, he has to travel at 1,000 kilometres per second, and then also get down the chimney and then back up again in 0 time. But being a quantum entity, Santa can do that and does that. Remember, Santa and the Easter Bunny are both real. In fact, under quantum mechanics, they might even be the same creature. Whoa.
Oh, whoa.
Right, man.
Quantum mechanics are absolutely fascinating. I think if I see a plate of cookies, I move pretty quickly. I thought it was 1,000 kilometers a second, but maybe it's a little bit slower. I've got another question. I'm going to sneak in another question from Max again. Are spider webs strong enough to make clothes or other stuff?
Weight for weight, spider webs are stronger than steel, and size for size. Spider webs are stronger than steel. And here's the amazing thing. They are made at body temperature, 20, 30, whatever degrees C, not at thousands of degrees C like we make steel. They're made at body temperature and of common organic chemicals. So a spider might eat a little bit of an insect or a bit of grass or something, and out of those chemicals can make something that's stronger than steel. We still don't know how they do it. We've tried getting spiders to make spider web for us, but they're not like silkworms. Silkworms, you just get one silkworm, it'll make some silk for you. You get 1,000, they're fine, they just hang around. If you get a bunch of spiders together, they try to eat each other. And so we've had a bit of difficulty, and we're going to genetic engineering. And in your working life, you will find it's Dr. Noah, is it? Or Dr. Max?
Dr. Max has asked that question.
Dr. Max, you will find that you'll be able to buy clothing made of spider web. It has amazing properties besides the strength. So if you think way, way back to Genghis Khan, his soldiers used to wrap their skulls in silk. And the thing about silk is that it'll get out of the way slowly, but not quickly. So if you push an arrow at silk, it'll just sort of get out, it'll just bend and bend and bend and bend. And if you try to go fast, well, the silk is so strong that it usually won't tear. And in fact, it'll sort of become sort of stiff and will retreat away from the arrow, holding the arrow, and the arrow won't penetrate through it. There's all these weird properties of silk that we're going to start using in our clothes in the future. So your clothes could be a kind of seatbelt to protect you from falling off a cliff or something.
That is amazing, isn't it? Wow, I can't believe it's like pound for pound as strong as steel. That's incredible. Spiderwebs, wow. What does the future hold with spiderwebs? I'm excited to see. I just want to do a quick shout out to Susan and Poppy Rose. Hello. Thank you for tuning in the stream. And I hope you're enjoying seeing me and Dr. Karl answering all these questions. And we had a thank you from, it was the question about the cookies. Thank you for answering the question about the cookies. Yes, thank you, Catherine. Olivia says, thank you for answering a cookie question. You're very welcome, Olivia. Keep the questions coming. Dr. Karl, I'm sure you would like more questions from Olivia.
Oh, here's a question from Jesse in Darwin.
Oh, what's popped up?
Jesse says, where do stars go when the sun comes up? Do they follow the sun? No, they're still there in the sky, but you can't see them because the sun is so bright, but you can sometimes. It turns out there's about half a dozen stars and planets that you can see in the daytime, but you've got to know where to look. And if you say, oh, just look up there, and they'll say, where? And they're looking off to the left or the right, and they're not seeing it. And so the best way to see it is when the moon, as it goes across the sky, accidentally covers or crosses in front of one of these stars or planets. And the first time I saw it was about 5 years ago. I'd never seen a planet or a star in the daytime. And it said that about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the interwebs, the astronomy site, said that about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if I looked at the moon, up around 11 o'clock, if I imagined that the moon was like a clock face, well, up at around 11 o'clock, there'd be a little dot, and that dot would be Jupiter, and blow me down. I looked at it, and suddenly I saw it. I could actually see a planet in the daytime. So the stars don't go away. They're still there, but only half a dozen are bright enough. And that thing about only being able to see them from the bottom of a well, nah. That's just made up. You can see them from anywhere if you know where to look, but most of us don't know. But now they've got phone apps that'll tell you where to go looking. So you can look for your Jupiter, which is a big bright guy. Oh, and by the way, December 21 at sunset, have a look over near the moon on the horizon, and you'll see 2 dots getting closer and closer with each night. And those 2 dots are Jupiter and Saturn, and they get as close as this only very rarely, and they'll actually merge into a single spot. But if you get binoculars, you can see 2 really bright planets, and you can even see, if you have binoculars, the rings of Saturn.
No way. That is incredible. December 21st at sunset. I'm definitely going to be doing that. That sounds absolutely incredible, Dr. Karl. Wow. Wow, that's so cool. Well, we do have to keep on rocking and rolling, as they say on Planet Starlight, because we have more fun facts pre-recorded ready to go, and we're going to cross over to the Starlight Express lab now.
Thanks, Captain Starlight and Dr. Karl. Hello again, everyone. I hope you're ready for the next science fact. But remember, if you do have any questions for Dr. Karl, leave them in the comments section below on Facebook, or just tell a captain. Alright, there is some sort of funky cosmic dance going on in the galaxy. 2 really weird stars, which originally started as regular stars, are orbiting around each other crazily fast. Their speed? Well, the Earth orbits the Sun in 1 year, but these objects are orbiting each other every 5 hours. These stars are moving almost 10 times faster than the Sun, at about 280 kilometers per second. Wow, I thought I had good dance moves. Do you think Santa and his reindeer travel that fast? I wonder. Back to you, Dr. Karl and Captain Starlight.
Wow, these stars are circling each other. Is that right?
Yeah. So instead of like on the Earth and the Sun, if that's the Sun there, and the Earth goes around it really slowly, and that's a whole year. In this case, they go around each other every 5 hours. But here's a weird thing: they do this. The orbit is gradually twisting over. So instead of just doing that, they're doing this and twisting around. And if you do the mathematics, it turns out that a famous scientist of the early 20th century, Albert Einstein, was right when he predicted that there'd be some weird effect that would make this happen. But if you ever got any time, read up on Albert Einstein, and you can even read his papers. They've got very little mathematics, and they're mostly words. And he just gives logical arguments one after the other, and then suddenly you think, oh, so that's what would happen if I were able to sit on a beam of light traveling at the speed of light.
Yeah, wow. Albert Einstein thought of a lot of like amazing theories that have been proved later in life. Is that right, Dr. Karl? Like a lot of
Yeah.
things at his time was unproven, and then as time's gone on, more and more of his theories have been proven to be correct.
Yeah, the latest one was back in 2014 was that, or 2015, was that gravitational waves would exist. So we know that electromagnetic waves exist because you pick them up on your radio or your TV, or you generate them with your phone. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are electromagnetic waves, but gravitational waves, where the actual fabric of the Earth changes it goes blue, 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 up and down and left, right. We proved that back in 2015. They actually exist. It took about a century of thinking about it, and now we're just seeing it happening all the time when black holes run into each other. So yes, black holes are real. And by the way, the size of all black holes is the same. It's zero. They have no size. They have mass, but they have no size. Yes, that hurts my head, as well as quantum mechanics and Santa doing 1,000 kilometers a second.
I'm not going to lie to you, Dr. Karl. That hurts my head as well. It's a lot to comprehend, isn't it? But absolutely amazing that a century later, we're still proving his theories. Incredible. Now, Dr. Karl, we have more questions coming through Facebook. Keep those questions coming. Keep them coming in the Starlight rooms. This is absolutely amazing. I'm having such a great time. And I hope you two are too, Dr. Karl. Our next question comes from Nicole from Facebook. And Nicole has asked, what science makes Santa's sleigh work so it can fly so fast?
I guess it'd be some sort of aerodynamics. So think about a rock. Now, you just get a rock and you drop it and it just falls. And you get a rock and you drop it into water and it falls as well. But suppose you've got a rock that's flat and round, like so. And then you bend down and you throw it flat, just above the water at speed. And blow me down, instead of just going, when it hits the water, just going splonk straight down, it goes skip, 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 skip. So there's some sort of wave that it makes as it travels across, and it travels through that wave. And in the same way, I reckon Santa's reindeer do that as well. So they fly upon their own generated wave. If they're going fast enough, they'll make a wave through the air and they'll ride that wave. There's a famous aeroplane called the SR-71. Look it up on Wikipedia. I've been in the front seat twice. And when that thing is flying at altitude, it's doing 1 kilometer a second. And it's so high that the Earth is curved and the sky is black. But here's the weird thing. It gets only 1/3 of its thrust from the stuff coming out of the engines at the back. It gets 2/3 of its forward motion by creating a wave in the atmosphere and then surfing down the front of that wave. Oh my God, that's so weird.
That's amazing. What did it feel like being in the front seat of that plane?
I
Do you call
felt
it
like
a plane?
I
A
was
rocket?
in a temple. Have you been to Europe, Captain Starlight?
On the rocket ship, maybe, but I can't quite remember. We travel all over the place in the rocket ship, so.
So Europe has got these cathedrals that are really large, and you look at them and you get a sense of awe and wonder, because you realize that it took 3 centuries to build it. And so a bunch of stonemasons and carpenters and plumbers all moved in into a village, and then they built a bit of it, and then they died, and then their children built a bit of it more, and they died. And this went on, say, 25 years to each generation. So 4 generations in a century, 12 generations of families to build this thing. And then finally they go away, leaving behind this wonderful thing. And I had the same sense of awe and wonder that we humans were able to build this SR-71. It's made of titanium as well, and it leaks when it's on the ground from its fuel tanks, because it's going so hot that the nose is at a temperature of 4. It's going so fast, 1 kilometer a second, that the nose is at a temperature of 400 degrees centigrade, and the whole thing expands. And if they made it to be a tight fit when it was cold, well, when it was hot, it'd buckle. So they make the fuel tanks to be leaking. Isn't that weird? Wow.
That is so bizarre, isn't it? Wow, that
Yeah.
is amazing. Yeah, well, it must have been amazing to see this amazing plane. Now, Dr. Karl, we do have to keep on moving, and I'm very excited because after this, we will be doing our little science experiment with our magnets. So get your magnets ready. Dr. Karl, do you have magnets ready?
I have 2 of them here, and you can
Uh,
see that they're roughly the same size. So see if
yes.
you get 2 that are roughly the same size.
Okay, amazing. I am very excited. We are going to move along to the next Captain Starlight Science Lab.
Wow, those were some great questions. Do you guys want to learn something new? That's what I thought. Well, according to Miguel Alcubierre, it is theoretically possible to travel faster than the speed of light. Of course, it involves surfing. First, use exotic matter to create a warp bubble of space-time. Then shrink the space-time between you and your destination, say a star 100 light years away, while simultaneously expanding the space-time behind you. And bingo! Without you experiencing any acceleration, your little warp bubble will surf to your destination at much faster than the speed of light. That's amazing! Well, that's a very exciting theory. Dr. Karl, do you think Santa surfs space-time to deliver all the presents in time for Christmas Eve? Back to you.
Well, Captain Starlight, Santa has to, because Einstein said that you can't go faster than the speed of light in space-time, but space-time itself, you can move that around any way you want. So he's here, and there's a certain amount of space-time between him and the next house, maybe a kilometre, and he shrinks that down to nothing, and the stuff behind him, he expands that to a kilometre, and suddenly in 0 time, or 1,000 kilometres a second, he's got to the next house. Wow.
Oh my goodness, isn't that amazing? Now, we do have more questions filing through. I'm very excited to get to them. But right now, we're going to look at this little experiment. So let's get our magnets ready. Now, Dr. Karl, are you taking the lead on this one, or shall I explain what's happening?
You explain, and you do the thing with your magnets and see if they attract or repel, depending on which way around you have them.
I am very excited. So I am going to share this magnificent knowledge that I have. So every magnet has a north pole and a south pole, quite like our Earth. But did you know that the north and south actually repel each other? They push away. Our Earth is like a massive magnet with a liquid metal core deep inside, which spins, creating a magnetic field with a north and a south pole. If you get 2 North Pole magnet ends or 2 South Pole magnet ends and try putting them together, they will push away from each other. So I've got my 2 magnets here. Now are they going to connect? Oh, not that way. So I've got my north and south, and if I push together, it won't let me, Dr. Karl. It's not letting me do it.
So you can't see anything there between the 2 ends of the magnet, but there's something that's stopping you from making them kiss up against each other.
That is very correct.
Okay. Now flip one magnet in one hand over and see if they come up against each other. Okay, flip it over. Yep. Now see what happens.
Oh, yep.
Whoa.
Oh, these magnets are strong, Dr. Karl. I'll have to bend it to get it across.
Okay, so I'll show you an experiment with my little fridge magnets. Now, I hope you guys have got your fridge magnets. So firstly, I've got 2 fridge magnets that are the same of, some sort of tradey thing. I don't know what it is. Anyway, here we go. So firstly, I've put the 2 glossy sides together. So we've got the brown on the outside, and there's not much magnetic strength, and I can just slide them this way and that way and up and, this way I can slide them very easily. There's, it's just like paper on paper. But this way, I can almost feel like there's little bumpies. But I run my fingernail across it and there's no bumpies. Now I'm going to switch them over so the 2 brown sides are going to kiss each other. Here they go. The 2 brown. So now, when I try to slide them away, oh my gosh, that's hard. I can do it, but going up and down, bump. I'll put it near the microphone and see if you can hear it.
I can hear that, actually. I can hear those little bumps.
Yeah, and the bumps are about maybe 2-3 millimeters apart. So what they do with the fridge magnets is if they had them all just 1/2 north and 1/2 south, they'd be really strong and they'd wipe your credit card. So what they do is they have a strip of north and then a strip of south and north and south and north and south, and they're beside each other, and so they can stick on the fridge without wiping your credit card back in the old-fashioned days when people had to have credit cards, whereas nowadays you just wave your phone somewhere near the credit card reader. I mean, here I am talking about ancient technology, credit cards with magnetic stripes. Oh, my gosh.
So long ago, Dr. Karl, so long ago, a distant memory.
Yeah, that's
Well
like
done.
20th century. So
We have a
do
few
that
more.
through it, and if you can feel them, here we go. And one last time. It's like two bumpy things going blumpity, 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 blumpity over each other. But when you run your fingernail across it, you can't see a single thing. And what you're feeling are invisible magnetic fields. And Einstein used to, when he was a kid, spend so much time thinking about what is this thing that is real, but I can't see it. And I know it's real. Like when you, Captain Starlight, were trying to push the magnets together, there was something stopping them. And when you flip one over, there was something sucking them together. What is that thing? Oh,
What
it's
is
big.
it? Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. Dr. Karl, we have a few more questions. Do you have time to answer a few more questions for us?
I'm here for the kids.
I love it so much. All right, we have one from a public school. Monavale Public School is messaging us through Facebook. Thank you so much, Monavale Public School, for watching and learning along with us. I believe they've been watching the whole stream. Their question is, how much fuel does Santa need to travel the world?
In general, the faster you go, the faster you have to burn up fuel. So you might have heard of a thing on the news called a barrel of oil, and they talk about a barrel of oil selling for $50. It's some sort of fossil fuel energy. Well, it turns out that a barrel of fuel has the energy of a human being working for 10 years. That's a lot of energy. And instead of paying $50,000 a year for 10 years, which is $500,000, you pay only $50. That's why fossil fuels became so popular. And when a jet is burning, it's burning up about 2 or 3 barrels each minute. So Santa should, because he's moving so quickly, have to burn up huge amounts of energy. And what do reindeer run on? They run on grass. I think they eat grass and herbs and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that they're tapping into an alternative. Oh, okay. Well, how about this? What they're doing is they've got all this grass that they've sort of stored up for a whole year, and then it gets sort of funneled into their stomachs at maybe a ton every few seconds. I mean, a jetliner, 2 or 3 barrels of oil every minute, that's a lot of fuel to burn up. And so I reckon the reindeer somehow magically, or quantum mechanically funneling in a whole lot of grass clippings that they've saved over the last year.
That is amazing. So storing that grass clippings to use it all in one night. Isn't that amazing? Some amazing reindeer. Thank you for Lime at Mona Vale Public School. Thank you for watching. It's so exciting to have you here. I love that you're involved. Now, I've got another question. And Dr. Karl, you're going to have to help me with this one because I'm not sure what Proxima B is. But the question is from Noah from Facebook. It says, please tell me about Proxima B and how long does it take to orbit?
We're probably referring to the Centauri complex of 3 stars, which are the closest stars to us, about 4 light years away. And with our current technology, to get there takes 80,000 years. But we will invent better technologies in the lifetimes of the people watching today, and we'll be able to get there in, say, half a human lifetime, or something like that, or even more quickly. So what you've got is Alpha and Beta Centauri orbiting each other fairly closely, and then you've got Proxima Centauri orbiting the pair of them, and I think it's a red dwarf, and Proxima B is a planet going around the red dwarf. Okay, so I've said a whole lot of things there. Let me just back up a bit here. There's a lot of stars in the universe, and the majority of the stars are red dwarfs. By the way, stars come in many different types. There's a G star like ours. There's red giants and blue giants, which are much bigger than ours. But most of the stars in the universe, about 70%, are red dwarfs. They're very small stars that are just barely stars. They're burning a bit of hydrogen, and they're just tickling along. They're just barely big enough, and they've got a really long life. And sometimes the astronomers get really annoyed with them, because if the astronomers want to look at something really far, far away on the other side of the universe, well, because it's moving away from us, it'll be red, and because it's far, far away, it'll be faint, and in between it and us are a whole lot of red dwarfs. And so the astronomers call them cockroaches. They're sick of these red dwarfs, but because that's in the way of them seeing these distant stars. But other scientists just love them. So the question is, how long does Proxima B, the planet going around Proxima Centauri, take to do an orbit? I don't know. Whatever it says in Wikipedia. But apparently it turns out it is not a good place to be, because even though it's in the so-called, or could be in the Goldilocks zone, where the temperature, if there was water, is such that water would not be steam or a solid but a liquid, even though it's in the Goldilocks zone, unfortunately the red dwarfs every now and then, besides just going nothing, 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 they go kabanga, and they throw out a big solar flare, which might be harmful to life on that planet.
Wow.
So we just found that out last weekend.
Yeah.
How long to go around, don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Noah, for that very sciencey and intelligent question. That was amazing. And then, Dr. Karl, we've got our last question coming through. It's from Ava from Brisbane. And Ava wants to know, do carrots give you magic flying powers? Because is that why the reindeers can fly?
I do believe that carrots are a treat for reindeer. And when I was up in Iceland and in the top end of Norway as well, I have seen reindeer being fed carrots. I completely forgot about it. And maybe they wanted me to forget so that I wouldn't see them flying.
Maybe, Dr. Karl. That's a very good point. Maybe there's some sort of brainwashing happening there.
Yeah. I thought they were just aeroplanes flying in the sky, but maybe they were actually reindeer. Now, certainly, carrots are good to eat. Yellow vegetables are good, but if you have too many of them, which is very difficult to do, but you can do it, you can end up going, wait for it, yellow. And there have some people who've thought, well, a little bit is good, so more is better. Not always true. And they've had so many carrots that they've turned yellow. And the way you pick the difference between that, where you turn yellow, and jaundice, which is part of a liver disease where you turn yellow, is that in jaundice, your whole body, including the whites of your eyes, go yellow. But in carotenemia, which means eating too many carrots, everything goes yellow, but not the whites of your eyes. So you've still got the white bit, they haven't turned yellow.
I love that it's called carotenemia. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a fairly useless thing to know, but one day this knowledge might be useful to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karl. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here this morning. I've had a lovely time, and I'm sure everyone out there on the Facebook live streams and watching Starlight TV has too. We've had lots of comments coming through saying thank you and Merry Christmas from lots of people. Dr. Karl, just to wrap up, do you have any advice for kids who are interested in science?
Ask questions. Now, when I'm talking with a scientist, because I'm not a real scientist myself, I used to be, but I'm not. When I'm talking with a scientist and they say something I don't understand, I just say, excuse me, assume I know nothing. Can you just explain that to me? And then suddenly they will give me, in 2 or 3 minutes, this wonderful explanation that would take me hours to work up for myself by reading through Wikipedia. So always ask questions. And don't be ashamed to admit you don't know. The world is so big, you can't know everything. Like me, with my knowledge of geology is this. There's igneous rocks, whatever they are, and metamorphic rocks, whatever they are, and you can get rocks that are big or small, and just then I've used up about 90% of all my geological knowledge. And so ask questions. Don't be worried about not knowing. Just keep on asking and learning, and read lots of science fiction. It's good for your brain.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karl. Now, your book, Dr. Karl's Surfing Safari Through Science, is available out through Australia. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I did mention the wonderful pop-up holograms, and there's almost as much, or in fact, there's probably more in the holograms than there is in the regular stuff. But if you go to my homepage, drkarl.com, you can find lots of extra stories there for free, which kids, you can paste, you can cut and paste and hand them in as your own homework because your teachers haven't heard about the internet yet. What did I say?
Dr. Karl, that's so cheeky.
Ooh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karl. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've had a lovely time.
And thank you to all the Captain Starlights, especially the ones making videos in the background. We love you madly.
Thanks, Dr. Karl. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Facebook Live videos and through Starlight TV. It has been an absolutely awesome morning. I hope that you keep on watching us on Starlight, YouTube, and check out for more live streams in the future. It's been awesome. This is Captain Starlight and Dr. Karl signing off.